Hello there, and Happy New Year to all our viewers who have been following Women in the Fore in 2020. Now we are in 2021. We are happy to be here. I'm Wezi Kasambala, welcoming you to the first edition of Women in the Fore for 2021. We hope you enjoyed our programs last year, and we are now back with even more exciting programs and more exciting women. Remember, Women in the Fore is a program that highlights women's accomplishments, but also highlights women's issues, how we can deal and tackle with some of the issues that women are faced with on a day-to-day basis in their lives. Now, today I've been joined in the studios by Mphatso Chidoti, who is, this is what she calls herself, a child evangelist and a cultural custodian. Now, we did catch up with Mphatso some years back, but she's back because she's been engaging in a number of different projects to do with children and music in the year 2020. So we want her to talk us through how 2020 has been in the work that she's doing with the ministry, with arts, etc., etc. Hello, Mphatso.
Hi.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Wezi.
Good to see you again. Just for the benefit of our viewers, I think let's start with the definition of what you associate yourself with. You call yourself a child evangelist and a cultural custodian. What is that, first of all?
Okay, so I am, as a child evangelist, I'm a pastor in the Malawi Assemblies of God.
Right.
I'm a reverend.
Wow, yes.
Yes, so I'm a reverend in the Malawi Assemblies of God. My area of focus in ministry is children and youth.
Okay.
So I'm full-time children's pastor. All I do is minister to children.
Okay.
Or parents to do with their children.
Okay.
So as a cultural custodian, what it means is I am an advocate of art and culture.
Okay.
So everything around me involves culture and arts.
I see. Okay. So obviously I caught up with you a couple of years back, some years back, when I was fascinated with the work that you do with children. But then for the benefit of some of the viewers perhaps who don't know you, and while you're here today, I thought it would be nice for you to remind them of your background, how you got into this particular kind of evangelism where you're focusing on children. So tell me, remind us about that, first of all.
Okay, so it's a calling, like you've said it. It's something, I think growing up in the church, I had the opportunity to be saved when I was young. And I was pretty much involved in Sunday school, children's ministry, other people call it Sunday school. So all my years of secondary school and my years of college, because then I was in Zomba and I did my university at Chancellor College, which was still home. So it was easier for me to be still at college and still go home at my church to do children's ministry. So I think that seed was planted in me up until even when I had graduated from Chancellor College, worked in the corporate world for 5 years. Then that burden came on me so much that I had to quit my job and go full time. So
you actually stepped into the corporate world initially before you made this transition.
5 years I worked because
in the private sector.
Yes, because I did my first degree was in humanities. I majored in drama, and minor I did fine art. So I got a privilege to get a job in drama because I was a script writer for Chakwera. I don't know if you've ever heard Chakwera programs on radio, NBC. Yeah, so I used to be a script writer for that. Then I was a producer, producing those programs for 5 years.
Right.
But I was still in the church.
Yes.
Then after 5 years, then it hit on me to say, hey, this is your path.
So tell me about, going back a little bit, when we talk about, you said you used to be involved in Sunday school, et cetera, et cetera. When you were a little girl and you went to Sunday school, what was it that fascinated you about the teachings that you had at that time? What drew you to that?
I think one thing I remember so much about Sunday school is the plays.
Right.
When I would play Jesus, I had the privilege to play Jesus, and yet I'm a woman. Yeah,
and so exactly. I think that in itself is quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, because to play Jesus, to recite verses, and it was a big thing for us as children because when you stand out there and the parents are watching you, that was like a beautiful moment for me. But I think what also inspired me so much is my first children's pastor.
Right.
In the Assemblies of God, we had a privilege to have just pastors in in children's ministry. So I remember she's still a reverend. She's actually the first ordained woman in Malawi, the whole of Malawi, to be an ordained minister. That's Reverend Rachel Massimo. So when I think I was in standard 5, she ministered to me. She directed me that I can actually preach. So even when I was in standard 5, I was able to do a preaching.
Wow.
I don't know.
And did you fully understand or comprehend what preaching meant in those days as a kid?
I did, because I knew that I was saved as a child, and what compelled me was I want other children to be saved as well. So I was preaching because I wanted other children to be saved. And I even remember when I was young, when we were doing, house things and you do houses, my element of that was me preaching. I'd always open a church and my fellow friends are sitting out there and I'm the pastor.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a seed that has been there for a long time.
So indeed, like you said in the beginning, it's a calling. So for you, it's always been a calling.
Right.
So you talked about how you obviously went through secondary school, then you majored in fine art and drama at university, you graduated, and then you said you worked in the private sector for 5 years.
Yes.
Then what happened? Remind us how you had that epiphanic moment where you really thought, okay, I want to do this instead of this.
It was a crazy moment because nobody understood it. Actually, even people around me thought I was like mentally disturbed. There was an intervention. They wanted to take me to the mental hospital to check if I was up.
Are you being serious though?
This is real.
Okay.
I had people pray and fast for me because they thought, okay,
she's lost her way.
People like the church, but I think the reality of being in the church still scares people.
Yes.
Because when you are working, people think that's an achievement that like parents look forward to that. So to hear that somebody who was a graduate who has been working, they had a stable home, a stable income, and they were on the path of success in their definition of success.
Yes.
Now she is coming to them and telling them, you know what, I'm quitting all of this. I'm going back to Bible school. It was difficult. Everybody thought I was going to be poor, and others even said, I was possessed with demons of poverty. Like I was possessed, that's poverty. So for them, ministry, if you're in ministry, it means you're gonna be poor.
Yeah.
That was this. I think that was something that they could not comprehend. So, but anyway, it happened. It wasn't an easy journey because it meant it was a shift in my life. Choosing ministry, it meant I had to cut all of the other.
Of course.
So it means I was jobless. And I'm going to Bible school. I need to pay for my tuition, and I had to cut off everything that I felt like was going to hold me back. So what I did, the most drastic thing was like I killed my house.
Oh gosh. When you say killed your house, what do you mean by
I
that?
gave away everything that I had.
Okay. Why was that significant? What was the significance
Because
of that?
if I still had it, I felt like if I was going to be there and didn't work out, I was going to come back. So I wanted to be in a situation whereby I'm not going back. So all I needed to go to Bible school is then I had my car and my desk and my computer. Those are the only things I kept. And
so is that to suggest that perhaps in order to really fully embrace the idea of ministry, that you needed to sort of part with some of the other worldly things?
I would say for me, because like even though I was still in ministry, but there was this ambition that I had as a woman in the career world to say, okay, I want to do this. I want to build a business. I want to become this and that. So with all of that, I really felt that if I was going to go into ministry with all of this, my focus, for me, it was like a decision to say, away with this. It was actually, I told God to say, God, I'm throwing my career at you. You take it. Because for so long I've been asking you to guide me on what I had to do. But this time around, I don't want that anymore. This is me. This is my career. Take it. So I literally like gave away everything and I had to start this journey with God. So that was the confusing thing. Because I'm like, why is she doing this?
Okay. And once you did that, did you have moments where you perhaps had doubt? Where you thought, oh, okay. Perhaps I made the wrong decision, and maybe they were right. Maybe I have lost my mind. Did you ever have such moments?
After 2 years, I was broke.
Oh, it's interesting how the one thing that you picked up on was the lack of finance.
Yeah, because then when I was going, I still had a backup.
Yeah.
I had some things that I was supposed to rely on. I had a transportation business
Yeah.
that was going to be helping me.
Yes.
Then it all crashed.
Okay.
After 3 months into Bible school, everything crashed.
Oh no.
So I had no source of income.
Yeah.
And because I had done this decision on my own, I didn't want it to burden anybody.
Yes, that's right.
Not even my family. So it meant that
after they had already tried to convince you not to.
Yes. So it when I was broke, I still had to do some consultancies because I still had to finish school. But yes, after I completed school, after I've completed Bible school, there came a time when I said, I think I have to go back. I think I have to go back into the corporate world. I have acquired the knowledge. I can still minister. But now I think because I now have to survive. But then that's a time also God opened up doors for me. That's when a church, International Christian Assembly, that's an Assemblies of God church in Lilongwe, opened up for me to be part of the community. And then that's the one that directed me to fully settle, because in the Assemblies of God is a ladder. Right. So you have got, you have to follow a ladder up until, up until you become a reverend, as I am right now. Right. So that's a church that paved way for me to start following into, to follow the process. And then here I am, settled in the ministry.
There you are. Here you are indeed. So despite all the, perhaps the misgivings, the doubt, the second guessing, you persevered, and you indeed became a reverend. And I think, I don't know how many reverends we have, female reverends in Malawi. Maybe you can tell me. Not that many, I'm sure.
Yeah, there are a few. I think even in the Assemblies of God, I think there could be less than 100.
Less than 100. So that in itself is quite an achievement. And then how did you get into children? Why children? That's what I'm interested to know.
I have got this motto in my life. I always say, you take away the children, you have killed me. If like today we wake up and there are no children, then I cease to exist. I'll just disappear. So I have been called to serve children in different ways. In ministry, I'm a child activist. Okay. For me, I think the nurturing of a child is so important. Yeah. I don't know whether it dates back to the way I've been raised. I feel like my parents focused so much on me, and maybe they gave me a platform to become who I am. So I always but I think this is my mission. My mission is to make sure that every child has been empowered. The voice of a child is important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, the child has to be heard, and the child has to be supported, the child has to be protected, the child has to be empowered. So this has to be holistic. It's not just academically that they have to be empowered, because I see that in our society we choose what is a priority. It's either others will just choose the religious aspect, the spiritual aspect of the growth of a child, or the academic aspect, and will ignore other the cultural or the social. So for me, it's the holistic. A child has to be given the opportunity to know where they are in terms of art and culture. A child has to be given the opportunity to grow spiritually, academically, and even socially. So all that element, that's what I focus in.
Right, okay. So we're going to talk about that in a moment, but we're going to take a quick short break. If you're just joining us, you're watching the first edition of Women in the Fore for 2021 with me, Wezi Kasambala, and we are talking to child evangelist and cultural custodian, Mphatso Chidoti. We'll be right back after this break to find out what she has been up to in the year 2020. Welcome back to Women in the Fore. As I said, Happy New Year to you. It's the first edition of Women in the Fore for 2021. And we are starting it with a bang, because we have been joined by our very own Reverend Mphatso Chidoti, who is a child evangelist or pastor, but also a cultural custodian. Before we went to break, we were finding out how Mphatso got into this very, very noble calling indeed. Now, Mphatso, 2020 was a very interesting year for a lot of us. I mean, we had COVID-19. So it wasn't a great year, but something tells me you had a good year. You had a good year on your front in terms of the work you've been doing with the kids, and that's what we want to talk about today. So what have you been up to? What did you do in 2020?
Yeah, so 2020 was a crazy year, but for me it was it was a powerful year, I would say. Yeah. Why do I say that? Because especially when COVID hit. Yeah. When COVID hit, so many things changed. The schools were closed, the children had to be at home. But for the Malawian setting, not so many children were at home actually. When you're moving on the street, you're seeing them walking about.
Yeah.
And
idle.
Being a child activist, I was fearing what could happen to the girl child. If a girl child
that's another subject, by the way, that you and I can talk about, how we had a terrible year for the girl child in 2020.
Yeah, because we've had a rise in pregnancies and all those issues.
And sexual violence. Yes.
Sexual violence abuses happening at home. So as a pastor, when I saw that the children were not going to school, and when I'm moving in my neighborhood, I see them just moving about. I was like, okay, what is it that we can offer to them that can help them and still prevent COVID?
Yeah.
And then I thought of something that has always been on my heart, music education. And because I know that music education needs so much time, needs so much focus, I've not been able to pull it because during school holidays, it's not enough to pull it. During school times, the children are doing school. So the COVID period was an opportunity to say, wow.
Yeah, because there's suddenly so much time.
This is it. They're just staying at home. Why can we not do this? So then I hooked up with my friend, Gift Banda. He's a music teacher. I said, you know what? You are a music teacher. How can you work with me on this music project? I want to do just a 3-month music project. And thinking of COVID, I wasn't going to enroll so many children. I just needed a few. I'm like, I think by the end of this COVID, I need a band. As a pastor, I need a worship band. I struggle to have the kind of music, but my children can't do music. So if I do this music project, I'm going to have a band. So then we said, okay, let's do it for kids. For kids, meaning there should be a drummer, a bassist, a pianist, and a guitarist. And then children being children, then I said, what if 4 is not ideal? What if 1 is sick? We need to have a backup. So let's take it to 8.
You need to have your first 11 and your second 11.
Let's have 8. So I called out to the children in my church that were interested, that I've seen that have been interested in music. And guess what? 12 showed up.
Wow. So and what kind of age range was this?
The youngest is now, then was 8, now he's 9. He's a pianist.
Wow.
Yes, and the oldest has 17.
It's fantastic.
So we ended up recruiting 3 girls. One on piano, one on bass, and one on guitar. And the others were all boys. So, yeah, we started.
And these are just children from your community?
Children from my community. Children who had not had any music education. Children who, when they were coming, you were asking, what instrument are you going to play? They don't even know. Some knew, some didn't. And we had to direct them to say, okay, I think we have enough guitarists. We don't want too many. You have to take bass, and they don't even know what a bass is.
So you were starting really from scratch,
teaching
them how to
because
use these instruments.
They know how, a little bit. We had to create a syllabus where they can also read music.
Wow!
So they have to know the music language,
of course,
and they have to know how to play and everything else. So yes, we did it, and when we started, we thought it was going to take a year for them to play, but strangely, nicely strange, after a month, they started attempting to play in church.
Wow.
So I was just watching, and then I discovered, no, they are actually playing.
They can play.
And in 3 months, they did their first gig. They did their first performance. We did a gig at our church.
Wow.
And they performed. So for me, that was inspiring because I discovered that there's so much that the children can be. There's so much opportunity that we need to give to these children. This was just 12 children in my community. Think about how many children that are in Malawi.
Yes, in other communities.
If they are given the same chance, how Malawi will transform in terms of music. Because I think...
But then I think it also goes beyond the music, isn't it? Like you said, it's giving them something to do, something to aspire to, something they can hold dear to their hearts as an accomplishment, isn't it? Yes. I think that's what's important, like you said, especially at a time when they were idle. You don't want kids just loitering. You want them to be doing something constructive.
Actually, that's a very important point. That's something that we learned. When we were doing this project, we discovered that there's so much to art than what we think there is.
Yeah.
Because the kids that we took, some of them had issues with self-esteem. These were kids who actually could not speak English. They could not construct a sentence. Because as a musician, you have to introduce yourself to the audience. When you're starting a song, you have to say, we're going to do this song. I want you to join us. So these were kids who had And they've always felt like I'm smart, I can do this on my own.
Right.
But to be in a band, there's a team aspect.
Yes, I was going to say it also teaches them teamwork, team dynamics.
And to also know that, yes, I'm a genius in mathematics, but this friend of mine is good at rhythm. And this friend of mine can also teach me. So that was like the transformation that we saw in the children themselves.
These kids are doing and the music they're participating in has had various numerous ways of impacting their families and even their lives. And it's been very, very beneficial. Now, you also you talked about at some point you told me that you also had a camp for these kids.
Yes. So still trying to work with the children, trying to create a platform for them whereby they will open up. So we, with my friends, actually it was my friend's initiative, fellow pastors and child evangelists. So we came up together to say, okay, let's do a camp. So this camp is called Tuwale Camp. It's something that started last year and something that's going to stay. The whole idea of Tuwale Camp is to give the opportunity to children and youth, because it's not children and youth, to rediscover themselves in a setting that is friendly, in a setting whereby they're having fun, they are learning, and they're being challenged. So we did it at Kuchawe Trout Farm the last week of December, just soon before Christmas when they just closed school. And the most beautiful thing about this as well...
So was it proper camping or what we call glamping? You know what glamping is, right? Where you say you claim you're camping, yet you're still, having nice showers, warm, hot showers. You're still able to put on your makeup.
I can say
was it proper camping?
Makeup wasn't there because the fire was there, but it was 50-50 because our Trout Farm, there's a facility, there's a lodging facility. So we gave the children an opportunity to say, we still set up the tents. If you want to sleep in the tent and have the full yard camping experience, this is it for you. And if you still want to use a bed,
you want to glam camping, yes, you can.
Then you can use a bed. So there was still that element but they still had the whole camping experience because they were staying away from home. Some of them had not been away from their parents, eating at a cafeteria. Some of them had never had that experience, and like just taking care of themselves, bathing, being in a team, because they were in teams, being in a team, people that you don't know, and you have to operate with them like a family. Doing all their different assignments, camping assignments, because there was treasure hunt, there was different kind of presentation that they had to do as a team. There was games, there was Olympics, them fighting as a team. So that all element was still good for them.
That's fantastic. It sounds like they had an amazing time, the time of their lives. But looking at some of the other issues, if we had to look at some of the more serious issues, Patso, you've talked about, obviously, as a reverend, how this is a calling, and you've always wanted to look out for the welfare of children. I wonder, have you as a female reverend as well, because that's even more significant, isn't it?
Actually, it is already incorporated in the programming. When we're doing the camp, we really had to have a session on we had a session on preventing sexual and substance abuse, and we also had a session on gender-based violence. So this was a deliberate initiative to have this discussion with these children, to see what do they think about
What do
they think about? How can we prevent it? How best can we create a better community where a girl child is safe.
Yes.
Because it's not only the girl child, but even the
Yes,
boy child.
absolutely.
Because the abuse, even though we have only highlighted the girl child, but it's both.
Yes.
So whenever we're doing programming, there's always that element whereby you are challenging the children to say, okay, we are existing in a community where this is happening. How best can we prevent? Where is your voice? What do you want? What should be done? So we had...
And what kind of a response do you get from the children on these kind of issues?
Children are smarter than we think.
Yeah.
Because they open up and they have got solutions that... Because as adults, sometimes we think like, we need to tell them what to do. But when you are giving